So I've been studying about consciousness, and I've been having a lot of success with the Vedic teachings, and I'm going to try teaching it to everybody. What do we have to lose, right?
But I want to tell you how I came about finding this information, because it came to me. So I was studying Kek, which is basically Pepe the Frog's modern deification as an ancient Egyptian deity who is the bringer in of light from the primordial darkness. Anyway, the Church of Kek is becoming a thing, and I had learned about Kek through my study of particle accelerators, because it's actually two facilities called Kek, and they've got a Pepe. And anyway, a friend of mine told me there was a ancient Maharishi named Kek, and so I was checking that out. It turned out that I couldn't find anything about that, but that avenue of research led me to discover a paper that connects Vedic science to our understanding of quantum physics, except the Vedic science is far more complete. So before all the naysayers who are going to start calling this New Age, this is not religion, this is a science. This has been around for a long time. So don't fall into a snare and be deceived, because it kind of makes me, I don't know, crazy that the infiltration is working so well that they've infiltrated this ancient knowledge and people think it's New Age. This is really old stuff. So listen up. So this very informative paper that I found, I couldn't find anything else like it. I'm so glad it fell in my lap, because I kept referring back to it. In fact, there is so much of the quantum infiltration at work that looking up these things, I had to go back to this very informative paper. So I tried to get other sources, and really all I found was how to levitate and how to, like, wish good thoughts on water and just yogi flying. It was far less impressive than this amazing paper, which goes over how this consciousness can be accessed to actually make effects on making less violence during wars and things like that. It's written by this guy who, Dr. Hagelin, was a physicist at CERN and at SLAC, which is in California. It's a particle physics lab with, accelerators and stuff. But the point is, our greatest scientists in history were the most inspired by the Vedas, which are the oldest texts known in existence of our human history. So that knowledge is, if you think about it, the longest stream of passed down continuous information. It's the closest thing we have to, like, what happened a really long time ago. I mean, that's significant. And so it's no wonder that it fills in all the gaps that we have. It not only fills in the gaps, it gives us the answers. Because what we're missing in our sciences is not counting this underlying and all-encompassing unified field of consciousness, that when we interact with it, it is very interactive. The scientists at CERN in the 1970s wanted to know why the Vedic teachings had way more answers than they did. But they seemed to correspond with the quantum physics, and that's because all the initial quantum physicists were Vedic studiers. Here we go. Vedic science is based upon the ancient Vedic tradition of gaining knowledge through the exploration of consciousness. Many thousands of years ago, the seers of the Himalayas discovered, through the exploration of the silent levels of their own awareness, a unified field where all the laws of nature are found together in a state of wholeness. This unity of nature was directly experienced to be a self-interacting field of consciousness, which is unbounded, all-pervading, unchanging, and the self-sufficient source of all existing things. The expression of this knowledge and the techniques by which it is gained have been passed on over thousands of years in what is now the oldest continuous tradition of knowledge in existence. Vedic science, unlike modern science, provides systematic experiential technologies which allow the direct exploration integration of these most fundamental and universal principles of intelligence in consciousness. These technologies allow the mind to experience deeper, more fundamental and unified states of awareness. And this is in the activities that it has you do. Just basically you say the words. You don't even have to be mindful of them. And you realize the universe starts freaking talking to you. So it talks about how easy these are to grasp with students with no prior scientific background. And it says the experiential technologies of Maharishi Vedic science have revealed a single unified field of intelligence at the foundation of conscious experience. It is in this fundamental state of awareness that the knower, the known, and the process of knowing are united in a state of pure, self-interacting consciousness in which consciousness knows itself alone. This intersubjective experience is marked by the onset of a unique constellation of physiological, neurophysiological, and biochemical changes consistent with the proposal that the experience of pure consciousness corresponds to a fourth major state of consciousness distinct from waking, dreaming, and sleep states of consciousness. From this experience, we conclude that human consciousness, like material creation, has at its basis a unified field of intelligence. And let us show you how to use it. According to Vedic science, the unified field is fundamentally a field of consciousness. The field is known as ATMAN, meaning pure consciousness or self, since the unified field constitutes the deepest reality and hence the true identity of everything in nature. This is easier to experience than to read, by the way, just side note. Stay with me, you guys. It's awesome at the end. All right, so the term consciousness is clearly distinguished from the highly individualized and anthropocentric sense of the term common to everyday experience. It is used to denote, and they're talking about Atman, it is used to denote a completely universal field of pure self-interacting consciousness, consciousness aware of itself alone, devoid of any individualized influence or external objects of experience. Now, this is important because you feel when you're interacting with this consciousness, this underlying field, you feel it is you are in control. You know it comes from within and that it's an underlying thing that connects us all. That's the crazy thing about it. It can't be faked. You know how it feels, and it's you. And so it changes everything. And frankly, this is what's been hidden from us all this time. The text goes on to say that the consciousness interacts with you through its dual characteristics of existence and intelligence. The intelligence property of consciousness is associated with its self-interacting nature. Due to its essential nature as consciousness, consciousness is aware of its own existence, i.e., consciousness witnesses itself. This highly nonlinear property of awareness sets up within the field of consciousness a 3-in-1 structure of knower, known, and the process of knowing. This is the fun part. I get excited. Consciousness, the knower, is aware of consciousness, the known, through the agency of consciousness, the process of knowing. This self-interacting dynamics of consciousness knowing itself and its associated 3-in-1 structure of knower, known, and process of knowing is called the VED. The self-interacting dynamics is responsible for the spontaneity, I like to make up words, and sequential emergence of the diversified structure of the laws of nature from the field of pure consciousness. One consciousness becomes 3, knower, known, and process of knowing. This inherent capacity for consciousness to know itself, or witnessing property of the field, is known as the buddhi, which means intelligence or intellect. It refers to the highly dynamic, discriminative consciousness discriminates between itself as the knower, known, and process of knowing, and creative, which is the most important part. It creates 3 from the state of unity, meaning from the one unified field of consciousness becomes the knower, the known, and the knowing. So it's no wonder that through our creative works, we're starting to see changes in the time, space, fabric, matter. There's new history, there's weird stuff. So anyway, let's continue. It's almost to the part. So this is a big part. All right, the knowledge of the Vedic sounds and their classifications is a big part of how it works. So this knowledge presents a complete science of transformation based on the unified field. Through the introduction of specific impulses of sound, which are specific frequencies or patterns of vibrations of the unified field, One can induce a transformation from one frequency or pattern to another in a manner familiar to experimentalists and theorists working with scattering experiments or Feynman graphs. The introduction of a new frequency or particle into the initial state configuration leads to a whole new range of final state possibilities. So they're talking about like waveform collapse and stuff. And they're talking about doing that with sound, using basically the correct vibrational frequencies to alter and interact with the universe, but like healing organs and things like that. It's crazy. This has opened up an entire field of Vedic engineering, which applies the knowledge of Vedic sounds to effect transformations at any and all levels of physical universe. So you can heal organs with sound. All you have to do is know the correct vibrational frequency. I'm not going to talk too much about it. I just want you to know it works and it's cool. So according to Vedic science, the most fundamental and authoritative expression on the mechanics of creation is contained in the Ved itself, in the phonetic. The Ved is the process of knowing, but the phonetic is what you say. That's words, that's the sounds. See the little waveforms boxes? So it says, unfortunately, the available translations of the Ved do not mean much, since there are no corresponding English words that capture all the information stored in the Vedic phonemes. They're saying the sounds are important for the resonating with the universe. That's how you communicate. It's how you begin the flow, and it's just a free flow of information after that. So there's something that the ancient masters say is our entire root of all human pain and suffering, and it's when we took a mistake of the intellect. So the notion of diversity disconnected from the unity is the fundamental misconception, and it's known as the pragya aparda. And it results when, in the mechanics of creation from the field of consciousness, the intellect loses sight of the essential unity, which is the true nature of the self and of all the underlying consciousness, is the unity. Due to an inflexibility in the neurophysiology, somewhere in the sequential progression of unity to diversity, the experience of unity is lost. This is tragic. The intellect gets caught up in its own creation, i.e., gets overshadowed by the perception of diversity to the exclusion of the unity, which is the actual nature of the self being discriminated. So, according to the ancient masters, this mistake of the intellect is so fundamental to the nature of human experience that it is responsible for all problems and suffering in life. Psychologically, the experience of a fragmented and disconnected existence causes disorientation. Uncertainty, instability, isolation, and limitations automatically result when the unified source and basis of existence is hidden from view. Neurophysiologically, this fragmented structure of experience gives rise to the highly unintegrated style of brain functioning known as waking consciousness, which is considered normal now throughout the world. Physiologically, this fragmented state of psychology leads through imbalanced thinking and its associated chemistry to imbalance in the physiology, leading to a degraded immune system and a resulting susceptibility to numerous ailments. Basically, you see where I'm going with this. This is what the Vedic teachings say is our cause of pain and suffering. It's our cause of disease. It's our cause. We should be able to cure ourselves. We should be able to, basically without this knowledge of this thing that exists, we kind of just have anger issues and are glitching out all the time, like doing way unnecessary stuff, just over the top, and hurting each other and having wars. All of this is because we've forgotten that we are all connected by this thing that connects all life. I mean, it's literally what we are rooted in and housed in. And without it, we're not ourselves. And what is it? Is the underlying existence of a unified field of consciousness that we are all connected into. And it's called the ATMAN. And it's interactive with our diversity, our individual consciousnesses. But if you think about it, if we don't know it's there, and we don't interact with it, we are left with only our diversity, only our individual consciousness. And that is the state of the world. So, as you can imagine, people have gone mad because we feel alone in the freaking world. And this is not the case, my friends. It's just not. And this Vedic science, it's such ancient teaching. And honestly, I feel that like the consciousness wants to interact so bad. It's just like, it's ready. It's time. So let's remember what we have forgotten. And I wrote a little song to help you guys learn. And it's real fun, so you can sing along at home. All right, here we go. We are the Rishi. Yes, we are the knowers. We're in devatas. That's the process of knowing. We seek chandras. That is the known. Chandras, 'cause we are the knowers. Yes, we are the Rishi. We're in the process of knowing devatas. We are the Rishi, we seek chandras. 'Cause that is the known and we are the knowers. We're in the process of knowing the known, that is chandras. We call upon you from the depths of our soul. We call you from deep in the ATMAN. You can never be separated. We know we might have forgotten. 'Cause we are the Rishi. We're the devatas. We seek the chandra. The Rishi, the knowers, knowing the process of knowing devatas.